The story begins in Havenport, a glittering city on the American coast where wealth and power reign supreme. Rachel Lawson stands in the bathroom of her newly rented apartment, letting the warm water cascade over her shoulders. At 25, she has just returned to this city after 20 years, her heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and dread. The steam fogs the mirror as she closes her eyes, trying to wash away the exhaustion of a long journey. This apartment, a sleek modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows, belongs to Reed Enterprises, a name she vaguely recognizes but doesn't yet connect to her past. She's here for a reason, a purpose that has burned in her chest for years, though she keeps it buried for now. Suddenly, the bathroom door flies open with a loud bang. Rachel spins around, clutching a towel to her chest, her voice sharp with panic. "Get out, you creep!" Standing in the doorway is Jasper Reed, a tall man in a tailored suit, his dark hair slightly tousled and his green eyes wide with surprise. He freezes, hands raised as if caught in a crime. "I thought this place was empty, I swear," he stammers, his voice deep but flustered. Rachel glares at him, pulling the towel tighter. "Do you always barge into bathrooms without knocking?" Jasper blinks, then a slow grin spreads across his face. "Only when I hear something suspicious. Bad habit, I guess." Rachel's cheeks flush with embarrassment and anger, but before she can fire back, Jasper steps into the room, his demeanor shifting from awkward to alert. "Wait, stay there," he says, peering past her toward the open window. "I was chasing someone. They must have come through here." Rachel frowns, still clutching the towel, her mind racing. "Chasing someone? In my apartment?" Jasper nods, moving swiftly to the window. "Yeah, a guy broke into my office downstairs. This building's mine. I figured he'd run up here to hide." Just as Rachel opens her mouth to demand more answers, a shadow moves outside the window. A man in a black hoodie lunges through, his face obscured, a knife glinting in his hand. Rachel gasps, stumbling back against the sink. Jasper reacts instantly, grabbing the intruder's wrist and twisting it until the knife clatters to the floor. The two men grapple briefly, Jasper's strength overpowering the smaller figure. With a swift shove, he sends the intruder sprawling, then pins him against the wall. "Who sent you?" Jasper growls, his tone icy. The man snarls but says nothing, struggling under Jasper's grip. Rachel watches, heart hammering, as Jasper ties the man's hands with a towel from the rack. "You okay?" he asks, glancing at her over his shoulder. She nods, though her hands tremble slightly. "Yeah, thanks to you." Jasper drags the intruder out of the bathroom, tossing him onto the living room floor. "Stay put," he orders, then turns back to Rachel, who has followed him, still wrapped in her towel. "Guess I owe you an explanation," he says, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm Jasper Reed, CEO of Reed Enterprises. That guy was after some files. Didn't expect to find you here." Rachel studies him, her initial shock giving way to curiosity. "Rachel Lawson," she replies curtly. "I just moved in. Didn't expect to break in on day one either." Jasper's eyes linger on her for a moment. Then he bends down, picking up something the intruder dropped. A delicate silver necklace with a small heart pendant. "This yours?" he asks, holding it out. Rachel's breath catches. It's her mother's necklace, the only thing she has left from her. "Yes," she says, taking it quickly. "Where'd he get it?" Jasper shrugs. "Must have snatched it when he ran through. Lucky I caught him." Their conversation is interrupted by the sound of footsteps in the hall. Jasper's security team bursts in, two men in dark suits who quickly take the intruder away. "Handle it," Jasper tells them, then turns back to Rachel. "You sure you're okay? That was a close call." She nods again, clutching the necklace. "I'm fine, just not used to this kind of welcome." Jasper chuckles, the warm sound that softens his sharp features. "Well, guess I'm your hero now, huh? Not a bad way to meet." Rachel rolls her eyes but can't suppress a small smile. "Don't get ahead of yourself." Jasper steps closer, his tone shifting to something more serious. "Funny thing, though, your name sounds familiar. Lawson, right?" She tenses, unsure how much he knows. "It's a common name," she says evasively. Jasper tilts his head, studying her. Maybe, but I've got a good memory. My grandfather, Walter Reed, set up an engagement years ago with a family named Lawson. For me, ring any bells? Rachel's stomach drops. An engagement? She's heard whispers of it from her mother's stories, a deal struck between the Lawsons and Reeds before everything fell apart. That's ridiculous, she says, brushing it off. I'd know if I was engaged to someone like you. Jasper smirks. Someone like me? What's that supposed to mean? She crosses her arms, meeting his gaze. Rich, cocky, and apparently bad at knocking. He laughs outright this time. Fair enough, but I'll prove it. Granddad's got the papers somewhere. Before she can argue, Jasper pulls a business card from his pocket and hands it to her. If you change your mind about that necklace or anything else, call me. I owe you one for the scare. Rachel takes the card, her fingers brushing his. I don't need favors, she says firmly. I'm here for my own reasons. Jasper raises an eyebrow. Affair of the heart or something darker? She doesn't answer, her silence heavy with unspoken secrets. He nods, as if understanding more than he lets on. Well, Rachel Lawson, I'll see you around. Stay safe. As Jasper leaves, Rachel stands alone in the living room, the necklace cold against her palm. She sinks onto the couch, her mind spinning. I didn't come back to Havenport for love, she murmurs to herself. I came for justice. Her eyes harden as she gazes out the window at the city skyline, a place she once called home. Jasper Reed might have saved her tonight, but he's a distraction she can't afford, not when she's so close to facing the people who destroyed her family. She clutches the necklace tighter, a silent promise echoing in her chest. This is just the beginning. Rachel Lawson sits alone in her Havenport apartment, the silence of the night wrapping around her like a heavy blanket. The encounter with Jasper Reed still lingers in her mind, his unexpected intrusion and quick rescue replaying like a movie she can't pause. She glances at the business card he left on the coffee table, his name printed in bold letters, Jasper Reed, CEO, Reed Enterprises. Her fingers trace the edge of the card, but her thoughts drift elsewhere. She sets it down and picks up the silver necklace Jasper returned to her, the heart pendant glinting faintly under the dim light. It's more than a piece of jewelry. It's a tether to her past, to the mother she lost and the promise she made. She leans back on the couch, closing her eyes as memories flood in. Her voice, soft but steady, narrates the story she's carried for years. I didn't come back to Havenport for a hero or a husband. I came for my mother. The scene shifts to 7 years ago, when Rachel was 18, living in a small town far from this city. She had been sorting through an old box of her belongings, items left behind after her mother's death. A kind neighbor, Mrs. Carter, had kept it safe for her all those years, saying only, "Your mom would have wanted you to have this someday." Inside, Rachel found a worn leather journal, its pages yellowed with age. It was her mother's, Margaret Lawson's handwriting filling every line. She remembers the moment vividly, sitting cross-legged on her bedroom floor, the journal open in her lap. The words blurred as tears welled up, but she forced herself to read. Margaret had written about her life in Havenport, her marriage to Donald Lawson, a wealthy businessman with a charming smile and a ruthless heart. The final entries were desperate, scrawled in haste. Donald stealing from Reed Enterprises, one page read. He thinks I don't know, but I found the papers. Judith knows too. They'll kill me if I tell anyone. The last line was unfinished, a shaky plea. If anything happens to me, protect Rachel. That night, Rachel cried until her throat ached, clutching the journal like it was her mother's hand. Mom wrote the truth, she whispers now, her voice trembling with the memory, and I swore they'd pay. Margaret's death wasn't an accident, as Donald had claimed. The official story was that she drowned during a storm near their beach house, a tragic mishap no one questioned. But the journal told a different tale. Donald and his new wife, Judith Pierce, had beaten Margaret senseless after she threatened to expose his crimes. They staged the drowning, and Donald's connections with the local police buried the case. Rachel was only 5 when it happened, Too young to understand or remember clearly, she had been sent to live with distant relatives, then bounced between homes until Mrs. Carter took her in. The journal was the missing piece, the spark that turned her grief into a burning need for justice. Back in the present, Rachel opens her eyes, her grip tightening on the necklace. "I was 18 when I found out," she says to the empty room. "Old enough to know what they did, young enough to dream of making it right." For 7 years she planned her return, working odd jobs to save money, studying Havenport from afar. She learned about Donald's rise to power, his real estate empire built on lies and stolen funds. She read about Judith, his cunning second wife, and their daughter Holly, a spoiled heiress who idolized her father. Now, at 25, Rachel is ready. "I lost my mother," she murmurs, standing up and walking to the window. "But they're going to lose everything." The next day, Rachel drives through Havenport's gleaming streets, her hands steady on the wheel. The city is a maze of glass towers and manicured parks, a playground for the rich. She pulls up to the Lawson estate, a sprawling mansion perched on a cliff overlooking the ocean. The iron gates swing open, and she steps out, her dark hair catching the breeze. This is where it happened, where her mother took her last breath. Her stomach twists, but she squares her shoulders and walks to the front door. Donald Lawson answers, a broad grin spreading across his weathered face. At 55, he's still imposing, with silver hair and a suit that screams money. "Rachel," he exclaims, arms outstretched as if welcoming a prodigal child. "My long-lost daughter back at last." His voice is warm, but his eyes are cold, calculating. Rachel forces a smile, stepping into his embrace. "Good to see you too, Dad," she says, the word tasting bitter on her tongue. Judith appears behind him, her blonde hair pulled into a tight bun, her smile as fake as the pearls around her neck. "We've missed you," she says, her tone dripping with insincerity. Rachel nods. "Sure you have." They lead her into the grand foyer, marble floors echoing under their footsteps. Holly Lawson descends the winding staircase, her heels clicking sharply. At 22, she's a mirror of Judith, all sharp cheekbones and sharper attitude. She stops halfway down, crossing her arms. "So, you're the famous Rachel," she says, smirking. "Back to claim Dad's fortune? Dream on." Rachel meets her gaze, unflinching. "I'm not here for money, Holly. I'm here for something you can't buy." Holly laughs, a short, mocking sound. "What, love? Good luck with that." Donald claps his hands, breaking the tension. "Enough, girls, let's sit down, catch up." They move to the living room, a cavernous space with plush sofas and a view of the ocean. Rachel sits across from them, her posture stiff. "So, Rachel," Donald begins, leaning back with a glass of scotch, "what brings you back after all these years?" She takes a slow breath, choosing her words. "I wanted to see my family," she says, her voice steady. "See how you've been." Judith tilts her head, studying her. "How sweet. And where have you been hiding?" Rachel shrugs. "Around. Small towns, mostly. Kept to myself." Polly snorts, twirling a strand of hair. "Sounds boring. Bet you're here to spice things up." Rachel smiles faintly, letting the barb slide. "Something like that." Donald sets his glass down, his expression shifting to something harder. "Well, you're welcome here. Family's family, right?" Rachel nods, but her mind is elsewhere, replaying Margaret's words from the journal. "They'll kill me if I tell." She looks at Donald, at the man who took her mother away, and feels a fire ignite in her chest. "Yeah," she says softly. "Family's everything." As she drives back to her apartment that evening, Rachel's hands tremble on the wheel, not from fear, but from resolve. The Lawsons think she's a lost girl coming home. They have no idea she's a storm waiting to break. She parks and steps out, gazing up at the city lights. Jasper Reed's card is still in her pocket, a reminder of their strange meeting. She doesn't need his help, not yet. But his connection to Reed Enterprises, the company Donald betrayed, sticks in her mind. This isn't about him, she tells herself, clutching the necklace. It's about them. Back inside, she pulls out her mother's journal, flipping to that final, frantic page. "Protect Rachel," she reads aloud, her voice breaking. She closes the book, her jaw set. I will, Mum, by making them pay. The city hums outside, oblivious to the war she's about to wage. Donald, Judith, and Holly have built their lives on a foundation of lies. Rachel's here to tear it down, piece by piece. Rachel Lawson walks through the bustling streets of Havenport, the morning sun casting long shadows across the pavement. It's been a week since her awkward encounter with Jasper Reed in her apartment and her tense reunion with the Lawson family. The silver necklace hangs around her neck, a constant reminder of her mother's words and the vow she made. She's determined to stay focused, but Jasper's unexpected presence keeps creeping into her thoughts. His business card sits in her wallet, untouched but not forgotten. She shakes her head, muttering to herself, "He's a distraction, nothing more." Her phone buzzes as she reaches a coffee shop, pulling her from her reverie. It's a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at Reed Tower, 10 a.m. We need to talk. Jasper." Rachel frowns, hesitating. She doesn't owe him anything, but curiosity tugs at her. Reed Enterprises connects to her father's past, and Jasper might know more than he's let on. She types a quick reply. "Fine, be there." She grabs a coffee to go and heads toward the towering glass building that dominates Havenport's skyline, its sleek design a symbol of the city's wealth. Inside Reed Tower, Rachel steps into a marble lobby, her sneakers squeaking faintly against the polished floor. A receptionist directs her to the top floor where Jasper waits in his office. He stands by a massive window, hands in his pockets, looking out over the city. At 28, he's every inch the CEO, confident and composed, but there's a warmth in his smile as he turns to her. "Glad you came," he says, gesturing to a leather chair. "Coffee?" Rachel sits, clutching her to-go cup. "I'm good. What's this about?" Jasper leans against his desk, crossing his arms. "You've been on my mind, Rachel Lawson. That necklace, your name, it's all too familiar." She stiffens, her guard up. "I told you, it's a common name." He nods, but his eyes are sharp. "Maybe, but I did some digging. My grandfather's old files mention a Donald Lawson, a financial director here 20 years ago. Any relation?" Rachel's pulse quickens. She didn't expect him to connect the dots so fast. "He's my father," she admits, keeping her tone neutral, "but we're not close." Jasper studies her, sensing there's more. "He left Reed Enterprises under a cloud. Rumors of missing money, but nothing proven. Granddad never trusted him after that." Rachel's jaw tightens. It's a thread to her mother's journal, a confirmation of Donald's crimes. "Interesting," she says, deflecting. "Why tell me?" Jasper steps closer, his voice softening. "Because I think you're here for more than a family reunion, and I don't like seeing you walk into trouble alone." Before she can respond, her phone rings. It's Judith, her mother-in-law's saccharine voice cutting through. "Rachel, darling, join us for dinner tonight at the estate. We insist." Rachel hesitates, then agrees, sensing an opportunity. "I'll be there." She hangs up and looks at Jasper. "Family dinner. Guess I'm in demand." He smirks. "Need a +1?" She rolls her eyes. "I can handle it. Thanks for the heads up, though." As she leaves, Jasper calls after her. "If you need me, you've got my number." That evening, Rachel arrives at the Lawson estate dressed in a simple black dress that contrasts with the opulence around her. Donald greets her with a hearty handshake, Judith with a thin smile, and Holly with a sneer. "Nice to see you again," Holly says, sipping a glass of wine. "Still slumming it?" Rachel ignores the jab, sitting at the polished dining table as servers bring out plates of steak and roasted vegetables. The conversation stays light at first. Donald boasting about his latest real estate deal, Judith chiming in with false modesty. But Rachel feels the undercurrent, the way their eyes flicker to her with suspicion. Halfway through dinner, Judith leans forward, her tone syrupy. "Rachel, we've heard rumors you've been cozying up to Jasper Reed. People are talking." Rachel pauses, fork in hand. "People talk about a lot of things. Doesn't mean they're true." Holly laughs sharp and mean. "Oh, come on. A nobody like you snagging the CEO? It's a good story, I'll give you that." Rachel sets her fork down, meeting Holly's gaze. I'm not here to snag anyone. I'm here for family. Donald chuckles, but it's hollow. Good to know. We wouldn't want any scandals, would we? The next day, the rumors explode. Rachel wakes to a flood of notifications, tabloid headlines screaming, "Mystery woman targets Havenport's richest bachelor." She scrolls through, her stomach sinking. Photos from the Reed Tower lobby, blurry shots of her leaving Jasper's office, all twisted into a narrative of gold-digging ambition. She knows who's behind it. Judith's voice echoes in her mind. People are talking. This is their move. A warning shot to tarnish her before she can strike. She's pacing her apartment when Jasper calls. "You see the news?" he asks, his voice calm but edged with concern. "Yeah," she replies, bitter. "Your family's handiwork?" She hesitates, then nods, forgetting he can't see her. "Judith and Holly, probably. They don't like me much." Jasper's quiet for a moment. "Meet me at the pier. We'll figure this out." Against her better judgment, she agrees. At the Havenport Pier, Jasper waits by the railing, the ocean breeze ruffling his hair. He hands her a coffee, his expression serious. "I don't care what they say about you," he says, cutting straight to it. "You're worth more than their lies." Rachel takes the cup, surprised by the warmth in his words. "Thanks, but I don't need saving. I've handled worse." He steps closer, his green eyes searching hers. "I'm not here to save you. I'm here because I want to be. Whatever you're fighting, I've got your back." Rachel looks away, the waves crashing below. She's spent years building walls, but Jasper's persistence chips at them. "Why do you care?" she asks, almost a whisper. He shrugs, a half-smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe I see something in you. Maybe I just hate bullies. Pick one." She can't help but smile back, a crack in her armor. "You're stubborn, you know that?" He grins. "Takes one to know one." Their moment is interrupted by a call from an unknown number. Rachel answers, and a distorted voice hisses, "Stay away from Jasper or you'll regret it." The line goes dead. She stares at the phone, her pulse racing. "Who was that?" Jasper asks, his brow furrowing. "A threat," she says, pocketing it. "Judith's getting creative." Jasper's jaw tightens. "Let me handle it." She shakes her head. "No, this is my fight." Over the next few days, Rachel digs deeper. She sneaks into the Lawson estate late one night, using a spare key she swiped from Holly's purse during dinner. In Donald's study, she finds a locked drawer. With a hairpin, she pries it open, revealing old financial records from Reed Enterprises, marked with Donald's initials. Her heart pounds as she records Judith's voice on her phone, catching a heated argument through the door. "If Rachel keeps snooping, we're done," Judith snaps. "Those Reed files could ruin us." Rachel slips out, evidence in hand, and confronts Judith the next day. "I've got a recording," she says, holding up her phone. "One wrong move and it's front-page news." Judith pales, but her smile returns, icy and controlled. "You're playing a dangerous game, Rachel." Rachel steps closer, unflinching. "I learned from the best." That night, Jasper shows up at her apartment unannounced, a determined look on his face. "I'm taking you to the gala tomorrow," he says. "Reed Enterprises event. Show them you're not scared." She hesitates, then nods. "Fine, but no funny business." At the gala, Havenport's elite fill the ballroom, chandeliers casting golden light over tailored suits and shimmering gowns. Rachel wears a deep blue dress, her necklace gleaming against her collarbone. Jasper stays close, his hand brushing hers as they mingle. The rumors still swirl, but he shuts them down with a single glare. Near the end of the night, he pulls her onto a balcony, the city sprawling below. "Marry me, Rachel," he says, his voice low and earnest. "Let me stand by you, whatever happens." She freezes, her heart racing. "Jasper, I can't. Not until I'm free of them." He nods, undeterred. "I'll wait, but I need you to know something." He pauses, his gaze intense. "Donald worked for my family. I think he had a hand in my father's death, a car crash that wasn't an accident. Granddad never proved it, but I've always wondered." Rachel's breath catches. "So we're fighting the same enemy?" Jasper takes her hand, his touch firm. Looks like it. She pulls away, overwhelmed. I need time, she says, and he lets her go, watching her disappear into the crowd. Rachel Lawson stands in her Havenport apartment, staring at the phone in her hand. The recording of Judith Pierce's voice plays on a loop. If Rachel keeps snooping, we're done. Those Reed files could ruin us. It's been days since the gala, since Jasper Reed proposed and revealed their shared enemy in Donald Lawson. The weight of his words, the warmth of his hand linger in her mind, but she pushes them aside. Tonight is about justice, not love. She's spent weeks planning, gathering evidence from Donald's study, and now she's ready to strike. The Lawsons have underestimated her for the last time. She pulls out a sleek black dress from her closet, slipping it on with steady hands. The silver necklace from her mother, Margaret, rests against her chest, a talisman for what's to come. Jasper's business card sits on the table, and she hesitates before tucking it into her purse. This is my fight, she tells herself, but his offer to stand by her echoes in her ears. She shakes her head, grabs her keys, and heads out. Tonight, at the Serenity Hotel, she'll host a fake engagement party, a trap to expose the Lawsons to Havenport's elite. The Serenity Hotel glows against the night sky, its grand ballroom filled with the city's richest and most powerful. Rachel arrives alone, her dark hair swept back, her expression calm but fierce. She's invited Donald, Judith, and Holly under the pretense of celebrating her supposed engagement to Jasper. The guests murmur as she moves through the crowd, their eyes flicking to the necklace, the rumors still swirling from Judith's smear campaign. She spots the Lawsons near the bar, Donald in a crisp tuxedo, Judith in a glittering gown, and Holly sipping champagne with a smug grin. "Rachel, darling," Donald says, his voice booming as he approaches. "Quite the party. Where's your fiancé?" She smiles thinly. "He'll be here soon. Enjoy yourselves." Judith's eyes narrow, sensing something off, but she plays along. "Such a lovely gesture," she purrs. "We're so proud." Holly rolls her eyes. "Sure we are. Let's see how long this lasts." Rachel ignores her, signaling the staff to start serving drinks. She's slipped a little extra into Holly's champagne, just enough to loosen her tongue. As the night unfolds, the room buzzes with chatter and clinking glasses. Rachel mingles, keeping an eye on Holly, who's growing louder with each sip. She steps to the podium, tapping the microphone. "Thank you all for coming," she says, her voice clear. "This is a special night, a celebration of new beginnings. But first, a toast to family." She raises her glass and the crowd follows. Holly, already tipsy, stumbles forward, grabbing the mic from Rachel's hand. "Family?" she slurs, laughing. "Let's talk about family. Dad's a thief and Mom's a liar." Gasps ripple through the room. Rachel steps back, feigning shock, though her heart races with triumph. Donald's face reddens and Judith lunges for Holly. "Shut up, you idiot," she hisses, but Holly shoves her away, the mic still live. "Oh, come on, Mom. Everyone knows Dad's dirty. Stole from Reed Enterprises, right? That's why we're rich." The crowd erupts in whispers, phones lighting up as people start recording. Rachel seizes the moment, plugging her phone into the sound system. Judith's voice fills the air. "If Rachel keeps snooping, we're done. Those Reed files could ruin us." The ballroom falls silent, then explodes into chaos. Donald roars, "Turn that off!" and charges toward Rachel, his fists clenched. Before he can reach her, a familiar figure steps in. Jasper Reed, striding through the crowd in a dark suit, his presence commanding. "Back off, Lawson," he says, his voice low and dangerous. He grabs Donald's arm, twisting it behind his back with practiced ease. Security swarms in, holding Donald as he struggles. "You little—" He spits at Rachel, but Jasper cuts him off. "Save it. You're done." Rachel meets Jasper's eyes, a mix of gratitude and surprise washing over her. "You didn't have to come," she says quietly. He shrugs, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Couldn't let you face this alone." She nods, turning back to the crowd. "There's more," she announces, pulling up scanned documents on a screen behind her. "These are financial records from Reed Enterprises. signed by Donald Lawson. He embezzled millions 20 years ago. That's why my mother died. She found out, and he killed her. The room buzzes with outrage, guests whispering about lawsuits and scandals. Donald's face pales and Judith staggers back, clutching Holly, who's now giggling hysterically. "You've got nothing," Donald shouts, but his voice cracks. Jasper steps forward, his tone cold. "We've got enough. And there's something else. Those files link you to my father's death, a car crash you staged to cover your tracks." He holds up a folder, evidence Walter had kept hidden for years. "The police have this now." Donald lunges again, but security drags him back. Judith shrieks, "This is a setup!" and bolts for the exit, pulling Holly with her. Rachel watches them go, her chest tight with victory and exhaustion. The crowd disperses, some shaking their heads, others snapping photos of the wreckage. Jasper turns to Rachel, his expression softening. "You did it," he says. "They're finished." She nods, but before she can reply, a sharp crack splits the air. A man in a black coat emerges from the shadows near the stage, a gun in his hand. "Reed!" he snarls, firing a shot. Jasper shoves Rachel aside, taking the bullet in his shoulder. He collapses, blood staining his shirt, as screams erupt around them. Rachel drops to her knees beside him, panic seizing her. "Jasper, no!" she cries, pressing her hands to the wound. The shooter, a hired thug tied to Donald's old partners, flees into the chaos, security chasing after him. Jasper groans, his face pale but his eyes locked on hers. "Guess I'm not bulletproof," he mutters, managing a weak smile. Rachel's hands shake as she yells for help. "Stay with me, Jasper. You're not dying on me." Guests call 911 and paramedics rush in, lifting him onto a stretcher. Rachel follows, her dress stained with his blood, her mind reeling. She climbs into the ambulance, gripping his hand as sirens wail. "You fought for me," she whispers, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I was wrong to push you away. Please hold on." At Havenport General, doctors wheel Jasper into surgery, leaving Rachel in the waiting room. She paces, her phone buzzing with updates. Donald's arrest is trending, Judith and Holly have vanished. But none of it matters now. She sinks into a chair, replaying every moment with Jasper, his stubborn support, his proposal, his sacrifice. "I can't lose him," she murmurs, burying her face in her hands. Hours drag by, the clock ticking past midnight. She's about to give up hope when a nurse approaches. "He's stable," she says. "You can see him soon." Relief floods Rachel, but it's short-lived. The doctor emerges, his expression grim. "He's out of surgery, but he's in a coma. The bullet hit close to his spine. We don't know when or if he'll wake up." Rachel's knees buckle, and she steadies herself against the wall. "He has to," she says, her voice breaking. She's led to his room where Jasper lies still, tubes and monitors surrounding him. She sits beside him, taking his hand. "I was wrong, Jasper," she says, her voice thick with emotion. "You fought for me when no one else did. Wake up, please." As dawn breaks, Rachel stays by his side, exhaustion warring with resolve. She's won her revenge, but the cost feels too high. Then a faint sound cuts through the silence. Jasper's voice, weak but clear. "Couldn't leave you fighting alone, could I?" Her head snaps up and she sees his eyes flutter open, a tired smile on his lips. She laughs through her tears, squeezing his hand. "You scared me, you idiot." He chuckles faintly. "Worth it." Rachel Lawson sits by Jasper Reed's hospital bed in Havenport General, her hand clasped around his. The morning light filters through the blinds, casting soft stripes across his pale face. It's been hours since the chaos at the Serenity Hotel, where her plan to expose the Lawsons succeeded, only for Jasper to take a bullet meant for her. His words, weak but steady, still echo in her ears. "Couldn't leave you fighting alone." "Could I?" She brushes a strand of dark hair from his forehead, a shaky smile breaking through her exhaustion. "You're awake," she says, her voice thick with relief. "Don't ever scare me like that again." Jasper's green eyes meet hers, tired but warm. "No promises," he murmurs, his smile faint but genuine. Had to make sure you'd miss me. Rachel laughs, a sound that's half sob, half joy. I did, more than I thought I would. She squeezes his hand, the weight of the night lifting slightly. The doctors bustle in, checking monitors and scribbling notes. He's lucky, one says, adjusting an IV. The bullet missed anything vital. He'll recover, but he needs rest. Rachel nods, her gaze never leaving Jasper. He'll get it. I'll make sure. Over the next few days, Jasper grows stronger, though he's still confined to the hospital. Rachel stays close, bringing him coffee, reading him news updates about the fallout from the Serenity Gala. Donald Lawson's arrest dominates the headlines. Havenport tycoon charged with embezzlement and conspiracy. The police, armed with Jasper's evidence and Rachel's recordings, have built an airtight case. Judith Pierce and Holly Lawson have fled the city, their names now synonymous with scandal. They're gone, Rachel tells Jasper one afternoon, scrolling through her phone. No one's seen them since the party. Jasper leans back against his pillows, wincing slightly as he shifts. Good riddance, he says. They got what they deserved. Rachel sets her phone down, her expression softening. Thanks to you. You didn't have to step in like that. He reaches for her hand, his grip weak but firm. Yeah, I did. You're worth it, Rachel. She looks away, her throat tight. She spent so long fighting alone, but Jasper's stubborn loyalty has cracked something open inside her. A week later, Jasper's well enough to sit up, though he's still pale and bandaged. He catches Rachel's eye as she adjusts his blanket, his voice low. I've been thinking, he says, about what I asked you at the gala. She freezes, remembering his proposal under the ballroom lights. Jasper, He cuts her off, gentle but determined. Let me finish. I know you've got your reasons, your fight, but I meant it. Marry me, Rachel. Let's start over. Together. No more battles, just us. Rachel stares at him, her heart pounding. She's wanted freedom, justice, closure, but love was never part of the plan. Yet here he is, offering her something she didn't know she needed. You're impossible, she says, a tear slipping down her cheek. But yes, this time, I'm ready. Jasper's face lights up and he pulls her close, kissing her softly despite the pain in his shoulder. Good, he whispers against her lips, because I wasn't taking no for an answer. Their wedding comes a month later, a quiet affair in a small Havenport church. Jasper, still healing, leans on a cane, his suit tailored to hide the bandages. Rachel wears a simple white dress, her mother's necklace gleaming at her throat. Walter Reed, Jasper's grandfather, sits in the front row, his weathered face beaming with pride. You two were meant to find each other, he says during the ceremony, his voice gruff but warm. The guests, a handful of Jasper's closest friends and colleagues, cheer as they exchange vows. I promise to stand by you, Jasper says, his eyes locked on hers. Always. Rachel smiles, her voice steady. And I promise to let you, she replies, a playful edge to her words. After the reception, they walk hand in hand to the cliffs overlooking Havenport's harbor, the same spot where Margaret Lawson lost her life. The wind tugs at Rachel's veil as she gazes out at the waves. This is where it happened, she says quietly, where they took her from me. Jasper wraps an arm around her, careful of his injury. She'd be proud of you, he says. You got justice. Rachel nods, resting her head against his chest. I did, but I got more than that. I got you. Months pass and life settles into a new rhythm. Donald's trial ends with a guilty verdict, his empire crumbling as he's sentenced to decades behind bars. Judith and Holly remain fugitives, their lavish lives reduced to tabloid gossip. Rachel moves into Jasper's penthouse, a sprawling space with views of the city she once hated. She joins Reed Enterprises, not as a figurehead but as a partner, diving into the financial records Donald once manipulated. You're good at this, Jasper tells her one evening, watching her pore over spreadsheets. Better than me, maybe, she grins. Don't get used to it. I'm just cleaning up his mess. Together, they rebuild the company, turning into something stronger, cleaner. Rachel's sharp mind catches errors Jasper misses, and his vision pushes them forward. They work late into the nights, laughing over takeout in his office, their partnership as solid as their love. "I came here to tear things down," she says one day, leaning back in her chair, "but we're building something instead." Jasper pulls her close, kissing her forehead. "That's what we do, we fix what's broken." A year after the wedding, they stand on the balcony of their penthouse, the city twinkling below. Rachel rests a hand on her stomach, a secret she's kept for a week. "Jasper," she says, turning to him, "there's something I need to tell you." He raises an eyebrow, sensing her nerves. "What's up?" She takes a breath, then smiles. "I'm pregnant." His face splits into a grin and he lifts her off her feet, spinning her gently despite her protests. "A kid? Our kid?" he laughs, setting her down. "Rachel, that's amazing." She nods, her eyes shining. "Yeah, a fresh start." Walter visits the next day, bringing a bottle of champagne he insists is for the future Reed. He claps Jasper on the back, then pulls Rachel into a hug. "You've brought this family back to life," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "Margaret will have loved you for it." Rachel smiles, touched. "I hope so." They toast to the future, the clink of glasses a quiet promise of better days. The story ends on a crisp afternoon, Rachel and Jasper walking along Havenport's beach, the same stretch where her mother's life ended. The waves crash gently, and Rachel stops, pulling the necklace from her neck. She holds it up, the heart pendant catching the sunlight. "This was hers," she says, her voice steady. "I carried it for so long, for her." Jasper watches, silent, as she steps to the water's edge. "I came here for revenge," she continues, looking out at the horizon. "But I found love instead." She lets the necklace slip from her fingers, watching it sink into the waves. It's not a loss, but a release. Jasper takes her hand, pulling her close. "You're free now," he says softly. She nods, resting against him. "Yeah, free to be us." They turn back toward the shore, their shadows stretching long across the sand. Rachel whispers to the wind, "This is for you, Mom. I'm finally home." The camera pans out, Havenport glowing in the distance, a city of secrets and second chances. Rachel and Jasper walk on, hand in hand, their future unfolding with every step.